we're going to develop a two-column layout within the web pages that we've created so far. And if you look on most websites, you will see that they are divided up into multi-column style, much like a newspaper would be. And obviously the reason for that is it makes better use of the space on the screen. It's much easier for an end user to read, and it just looks that little bit kind of nicer, really. Now, the two-column layout is one of the more popular ones. It starts to become much more complex once you go beyond a two-column layout, primarily because you need to start thinking about where everything is floating and the size of the column, and so on. And also, I mean, the rise of mobile web means that the variation of the size of the screen that the person is looking at the website on is going to vary quite a lot, which is going to make your life as a web designer much harder. We need to be ultimately aiming to create what we call liquid layouts, and what I mean by that is when you resize the size of your browser, the things like column widths will resize with it, and that should maintain the proportions of your web page. Things like Bootstrap are very good for that sort of thing, but Bootstrap is for another time. The two-column layout, at its most basic, we're going to have div classes, and we're going to create two div classes, one called column 1 and one called column 2. And we're going to float them next to each other on the page, and it will look like, well, they will look like they're basically two, columns. Now, you do need to be careful with this. We are going to hard code the dimensions in there for this example. Long term, you will want to use percentages. But it is easier when you're getting going to use hard-coded dimensions. However, not everyone has the same size of screen as I was alluding to earlier, so therefore we do need to try and get used to using percentages. So let's go into our Sublime text. Now, the first thing to just look at here is I've actually made a couple of alterations from the previous videos. So I've taken out the paragraph and the header 1 styling at the top, and I've changed it to body, and I've set a font family as Arial, get it right, Verdana and sans serif. So the font will only be displayed like this if they have Arial or Verdana installed on their machine. If it hasn't got Arial, it'll look for Verdana, and if it hasn't got Verdana, it will just display in a sans serif style font. So it should have Verdana. I mean, very, very few computers do not have Verdana, not Verdana, Arial on it. I'll get it right in the end. But I mean, the point still is true that these are basic fonts that you would find on pretty much every machine. And I've set the color of everything in the body to this, which is kind of a light grey type colour. And the web page looks like this at the minute. So I always kind of prefer this sort of font to the Times New Roman font. It just makes it a little bit easier to read. And while I'm on this page, what I'm going to look to do here is have two columns. I'm going to have the image in one column. I'm going to have the text over here where this white space currently is. And it should make it look a little bit nicer with any luck. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into my HTML. And I said I want the image on, I keep getting notifications about surveys. I want the image in one side, and I'm going to put div class equals col1. Give it a really exciting class name. But the thing is, you do need to just bear in mind that in terms of the names that you give these, it is better that they reflect what they're going to have within them. So this is going to be column 1, and then we're going to have another one here, div class equals col2. And I have indented the image here so I can see that this is where the div tag starts and this is where it ends. And I'm going to do the same with the paragraph tag once I've closed it off. So it just makes it easier for me to read. So I've put I've put two div tags in there called column 1 and column 2, and right now this will do absolutely nothing. However, we can go into the CSS and we can start referencing this. So I've called obviously column 1 dot column 1, and then I can say I want it floated on the left, and I'm going to give this a hard-coded width. However, I want it to be big enough to hold my picture, and my picture already has a width of 500. So I'm going to give this a width of 550 with a margin of 15. When you are hard coding like this, you need to be wary that the numbers that you have here do not exceed the size of your page. Otherwise, it will not do what you want it to do. They will just continue to appear as they are right now. So this is the second column, and I'm going to have this width at 300 pixels. Actually, no, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, 400 pixels, and a slightly smaller margin. Okay, so I'll save that, and then when I go into my web page, you can see that now they're displayed next to each other rather than one underneath the other. And actually, this could quite possibly be a website that has been used by somebody for a reasonably professional purpose. So we have our column 1 here, and we have our column 2 here. And you could potentially have more columns in there. If you wanted to. Now, you could use this as a basis for other things on your website. So, for example, you could save the index.html and use the page as a template for your other pages. So, rather than saving it as index, you could save it as Bengal and then put content about Bengal tiger in there. Whatever you wanted to do, really. But this is a good basis from which we can now start to develop our site even further.